This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We're glad to have you with us. It was a busy week in Washington. Drama at the White House, drama at the nation's capital. But the issues remain the same. I sat down with Senator John Boozman to discuss DACA, Russia, elections, guns, and more. First of all, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, the DACA program. You guys had a March 5th deadline to do something. The Supreme Court has kind of pushed that deadline back a little bit, but is anything in the works, and do you think that there will be something happen in the near term versus the long term?
Well, the Supreme Court, as a result of them, it'll probably be a year or so before any final action goes on, so we do have a window. I think people are negotiating in good faith. The President's 4 pillars, securing the border, making it such that we get rid of chain migration, the visa lottery system, and then again, taking care of these young people that are certainly as American as any of us. That's where the compromise will lie. I think that people are working in good faith to get it done, and I hope we get it done shortly. I do think that you have to do all 4, though, or it simply doesn't work.
Let's talk about Russia and what's been going on in the Mueller investigation here. We have seen some very conclusive evidence, particularly with one of his more recent indictments, that Russians tampered with the 2016 presidential election in a big way. There are sanctions that are on the books that the Trump administration is not enforcing at this point in time. Congress is the checks and balances on this. What are you and what is the Senate going to do to make sure these Russian sanctions go into effect?
Well, I voted for them. I was one of the ones that pushed them forward. Certainly the Russians did interfere. Not only did they interfere in the election, but they've been interfering in lots of other things, that are causing us harm. So I'm very much in favor of getting that done, and it's just a matter of pushing the president. I think that the Senate, Republicans and Democrats both, people in the House, Republicans and Democrats both have actually been very forceful in the rhetoric that we need to get some action taken.
But it still has not occurred. It still hasn't resulted in any action taking place. Are you going to push harder? Are you going to publicly denounce the president or the administration for not moving forward on these sanctions? It seems like there's no real penalty for them not doing what Congress overwhelmingly supported.
Well, I think that that's true in many cases in administrations at different times. I don't think you publicly denounce people. So we are working hard in a variety of different ways with the president, with the president's advisors, the National Security Council, all of those things to really encourage that we go forward and get this thing done. And I would say that there's a fair chance, a good chance, that we'll actually get this done sooner rather than later.
Well, there is also, we're in the middle of the 2018 elections already. There really hasn't been any policy developed from Congress in terms of how we're going to respond to what we know happened in 2016. Is there anything in the works? Is there any legislation in the works? Can you give us some insight there?
Yeah, that's not really true, Roby, in the sense I'm the subcommittee chair of the Homeland Security Committee on, of Homeland Security of Appropriations. And they are charged with doing that. So they're working hard. They're communicating to the states, the states that want it. You don't have to take the help from the federal government if you don't want it, but trying to give them additional resources, give them additional advice as to how they secure the elections going forward. So there's, the other thing too is there's evidence, strong evidence, and I think overwhelming evidence that the Russians did interfere in the election with a variety of things. As far as physically tampering with the election process, I don't think there's any evidence of that at all as far as changing ballots or something of that nature. On the other hand, it is something that because of the vulnerability that we have in the age that we live now, we certainly have to take that threat very, very seriously, not only from the Russians, but from a variety of different actors.
One question on guns. It's been a topic of discussion for the better part of 2 weeks in Congress and across the country here. Do you support any of the changes that are being considered in terms of measures that Congress might take up and debate, or do you think there's not much more we can do in terms of Second Amendment rights at this point in time?
No, it's been discussed at length, for the last 2 weeks, rightfully so. And I think we need to look at what all of the different things that happened in regard to the failures that were in place, particularly with this last shooter. This was an individual that the police had been called out 30 some odd times. The FBI was alerted. His Facebook page was saying basically, I'm a killer. I want to kill people. The school was scared to death of him. The students were scared to death of him. There's no way that he shouldn't have been charged with terroristic threatening or something of that nature, so that he would have been, a felon at that point and not entitled to owning a gun. The other thing is it's so important is we have to secure our schools. And, in this case, it sounds like there were police, in some capacity out there. We need resource officers. That can be done through local departments. That can be done like they do at the courthouses with helping the Marshal Service with private contractors. Or in some cases, as we're seeing in Arkansas, you can actually arm individuals at the schools. But regardless, we need to figure those things out. The reporting system in Texas broke down at that shooting. The individual there, the Air Force should have reported him. As a result of that, several thousand in the armed forces they've pushed over. Those are the kind of things that we need to be doing. We need to hold people accountable.
Last question for you. You have got a bipartisan bill with Cory Booker and some others on infrastructure to help improve water systems in the state of Arkansas, as well as across the country. This plan sets aside about $200 million for infrastructure needs, cuts through some of the red tape. How quickly will that measure get moving in Congress? Give me a time schedule.
I can't give you a time schedule, but I can tell you that lots of different people working on this very hard. Cory Booker, Dianne Feinstein, myself, Jim Inhofe. That's a very varied group. All of them believe in infrastructure. This is about jobs, jobs, jobs. We think in terms of runways and roads and railways. You have to think in terms of broadband. You have to think in terms, very importantly, of water infrastructure in order to have growth and economic development. So I'm excited about this. There's all kinds of people that are supporting it. And so I think we've got a good chance of moving it forward. We just need to find the vehicle, whether it's through the President's infrastructure package, the big water resources bill that's reauthorized every 2 years would be another vehicle. But this is the kind of thing that really is valuable not only to the state of Arkansas, but to the whole country.
Senator John Boozman and Senator Dianne Feinstein, two peas in a pod. I will put that one down for the history books there. Senator Boozman.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.